Welcome to the CNIDEA update on what was supposed to be the last day of session, but now there's a special session, but it's special, so it only includes a very narrow area of policy, but does it? We'll get to that later. I'm David Smith with my ragged end of session hair, and this is the Thrive Weekly General Assembly Justice Update. Let's see what passed, what didn't, and what got amended, and what we're still watching and waiting for. First up, these bills all passed unanimously or pretty darn close to unanimously, and that means we should expect Governor Glenn Youngkin to put his John Hancock on them. That's SB 1255, HB 2222, Senator Bagby and Delegate Cousins' Don't Shackle Kids bill. There's HB 2235, again with Delegate Cousins, and the shackling, this time it's Don't Shackle Pregnant Women in Jails. And HB 2158, this is Delegate Carr's prison education bill. It passed, but basically turned into a reporting bill that requires evidence-based literacy instruction. Not as strong as it started off with, but still better than nothing. Now, these were at least somewhat close to unanimous in one of the chambers. HB 1661, Delegate Jones' maximum minimum payments. It was fairly bipartisan, only 2 noes in the Senate, but 33 noes in the House. HB 1665, Delegate Jones' other bill relating to court costs, which created an itemized bill for court costs, fairly bipartisan again. The Senate vote was 26-10. The House was 88-7. The fiscal impact statement came back with absorbable, which is always a good thing, but it also said with so many other absorbable bills, there will likely be some cost to the courts. But no clause. That means that if it doesn't have a budget amendment, it can still go into effect, and it has delayed enactment until January 1st, 2026, which makes sense whenever you have some big bill that's going to be changing around the technology that one of the systems is using here in Virginia. That's pretty standard. HB 2221, this is another one from Delegate Cousins. It's her ID upon release bill. While in the House, it was almost unanimous. The Senate was a party line vote. So don't know what this means for prospects with Governor Youngkin. I know there's a lot of work that was done on this bill during the offseason to try to get all the supporters together. So we'll see what he has to say. Hopefully, we'll see all these bills signed. Now, on to the ones that passed but didn't do it in a bipartisan way. This means you had a lot of Democrat support, but little, if any, Republican support. We're going to start with the solitary confinement bill, SB 1409 and HB 2647. This is from Senator Bagby and Delegate Keys-Gamarra. Party line votes. He has to sign or deny by March 24th. We'll see what happens. HB 1894. This is Delegate Seibold's Don't Let People Freeze to Death in Prison. Mainly Democrats, though you had a couple Republicans hop on board like Durant and Stewart. However, a new fiscal impact statement came out on the 18th, so just a couple days ago, showing an impact of $0 on the amended bill. So hopefully that will help get it across the finish line with the governor's pen. For reminders, this was a bill that started off very bold and strong and then ended up basically being watered down to, hey, we'll give people fans or blankets if it's cold or if it's hot, which is better than right now, so good to go. And finally, out of this set, we've got SB 1013. This is Senator Boysko's affirmative defense for people that are charged with attacking an officer if they have certain mental issues. It passed, but only with a couple of Republican support. We'll see how Youngkin comes through on this one. Okay, now we've got a set of bills that failed. Started off with HB 2217. This is Delegate Callsen-Counsel at first appearance bill. It failed in the Senate Money Committee unanimously. Yes, unanimously. That means that people from on high said, nope, we don't want to pay for this. The fiscal impact statement had a minimum bill of $810,985. It was likely to be significantly more than that. This is something that I think needs to happen. You should always have counsel, especially if you're looking at having your bond denied and being locked up. But how do we pay for it? Next up is HB 2196. This is Delegate McQuinn's Restorative Justice in Schools. It was passed by indefinitely in Senate Finance and Appropriations, with only Senator Hashmi voting to keep it alive. Its fiscal impact statement was $140,952 just to administer the program, plus whatever grants were allocated. And finally, last bill we have that failed this year is HB 2467. This was Delegate Henson's Regional Jail Oversight bill. Talking to his office, this seems like it was just one they were planting the flag in the ground and they're ready to come back next year with a better bill. Now, we also have some that passed but failed. Follow me here. HB 2724 is Delegate Herring's Automated License Plate Reader Bill, ALPR, is getting a lot of press. There are a lot of concerns by civil libertarians and people with privacy concerns on one side, and on the other side are folks that say we need this to solve crimes. It passed, but was amended to the point that groups like Justice For It are happy with it because now it sets standards for ALPR usage by police and does not expand where they can be placed. So it sounds like this one turned out pretty good. All right, we had one bill that was pulled this year. That's HB 2220, which is Delegate McQuinn's Fishback bill. Fishback is the shorthand version of saying we need to give folks that were sentenced after the abolition of parole in Virginia, but before juries were instructed that parole had been abolished, they all need to have a second chance. Even though this happened way back in 96, we still have hundreds of people that are in prison that are probably serving sentences longer than the juries intended. It got pulled this year. Hopefully we can get some change on it during the off season. All right, and there is one bill that is still alive. Yes, I know I said it was the last day, but HB 2252, SB 936. This is from Delegate Williams and Senator Craig. It's the probation good time bill. It is in conference. It's bad because it's a Saturday, but it's good because the Republicans that are on it are the sponsors of it. And another good is that we have a special session coming up, which means even if something doesn't get done this weekend, it could still happen. We'll get more of that later. And when I checked just before filming this, I saw the conference committee had come to an agreement. So it looks like this should be good to go. We should be getting this passed today on Saturday. Now, just for a reminder, this passed the Senate unanimously, but was close to a party line vote in the House. This mirrors a bill that was passed and signed by Florida's governor recently. So hopefully we are able to see Youngkin agree to this bill as well. And one last note on the House and Senate. Usually today is the end of it all, the Sine Die, but because of the mass layoffs happening at the federal level, about 10% of Virginia's workforce are federal employees. And as the yet unknown impact this will have on Virginia, a special session has been called. Now, well, not really called because you need a supermajority for that. And the thought is the Republicans don't want the Democrats in place to score political points off of D.C. However, there is still an active special session from last year that was a call to address the fiscal problems of the ever-expanding VMSDEP. That's the underfunded free college for certain military dependents program in Virginia. And since that session is still active, all the Democrats had to do is pass an amendment to that session's convening, which they did. So what does this mean for justice bills that might still be sitting out there? Something like that probation good time bill, which has yet to make it to the floor, which actually by the time I've recorded this, it might already have. It still has a chance, even if it doesn't get heard today. With the special session, any of the bills that were active theoretically could be called up for a final vote again. And this is the last of the regular Virginia General Assembly updates. Reconvene. That's when the House and Senate reconvene, come back together after Governor Youngkin has done all his veto work. Reconvene is going to be on Wednesday, April 2nd. And that's where the legislature will take up the governor's vetoes. I'll be back before them with an update on what Youngkin signed, what he didn't, and what to expect as we head into the 2025 statewide and state house elections. In the meantime, why don't you explore the rest of the channel and get ready for next year's legislative action? This is David Smith with Thrive Advocacy Solutions.